on the time, and they always forget that we got a night crew coming in. So that's how. Here we go. We gonna get into it.
That was one of the major takeaways I had. Is they just put together a movie that covers up the fact. When I went to go see the movie The Woman King, that was one of the major takeaways I had. Is they just put together a movie that covers up the fact and diminishes the fact that there would be no African slave trade if Africans didn't capture, enslave, and then sell off the extras, the slaves they didn't need. They sold them off. We pretend like, oh man, if it wasn't for these evil Europeans, there would be no African slave trade. There would be no Africans enslaved. That's a joke and a lie. Africans enslaved each other. And then the extras, to turn a profit, they sold to Europeans or whoever came over to Africa to buy them. Those are the facts.
Had to take a sharp turn. You see, Professor done walked away. And that was I know he got steam coming out his ears right now.
That's funny because I seen a video today where Charleston White was speaking on slavery, man. Some factual stuff. So it's crazy if you brought that.
I mean, it's a fact and it happened, but they were also selling like, you know, their enemies. But are we to dismiss what white people did? Like what's the rest of the context of that video? Like what is he really saying? That we is he saying that we are not being held accountable and we need to hold our accountability, or is he saying
it sound like Kanye?
Do we need to see the video again?
I'm just saying, like, what's the rest of the context? Like, is he blaming us for it? Or?
No. He just said in the beginning, he said he went to see the movie The Woman King. Mm-hmm. And the one takeaway that he had was that it portrayed us as selling away slaves to the Europeans, and that we think that there wouldn't be slaves without the Europeans. But he's making the statement that we were enslaving each other as well and selling away the extras. So that's what he's saying.
I think all cultures have slaves, or at some point had it as well. So, I mean, do we not know that? Is that not? I guess I can't say that everyone knows that because you can't generalize. But
you can never generalize. Yeah. I think if you do some history, you'll find out a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
And some things that go against the grain, against what you may have been taught. So I just really want to know what your thought process. Has anybody seen The Woman King?
Nah.
I have not.
You say you never heard of it?
Nah.
And Bazil, you never heard of it?
No, I've heard of it. I just didn't go see it.
Why?
I don't go to the movies. Nothing against it. I don't have time.
I got you. There's been a lot of controversy, especially with the young lady that the young lady who played in Black Panther. Mm-hmm. It was a young lady who actually turned down a role in the movie because she did some history on the tribe that they were speaking of in the movie, and she didn't like the fact that they were the ones actually facilitating the sale of trades during the Atlantic slave trade.
You know, I've heard mixed feelings about the movie. Commentary of people saying that they felt like the writers of the movie didn't properly portray the movie, and I was like, well, there's only so much you can put into an actual movie. You know, when you put out a movie like that, it's going to make people angry either way. I don't feel like there's ever really a right way to do it when you're talking about such a touchy subject, and then even if you're talking about women taking control over an empire or a kingdom, it's going to piss somebody off. It's going to be someone mad. Like, why is a woman taking over? How can you be a woman king? I heard somebody say that's an oxymoron, and it's a woman can't lead. Like, it's one of those topics. It's just no one's gonna be happy. There's nothing you can do to make anybody happy.
I've heard so many just with this movie alone, there has been so many different scenarios, right? Like you mentioned, how can a woman be king? There was the scenario of I guess there was a woman, like there was a task force that they had that were women, and when they actually did go to war, that they got massacred really quickly. Again, this is all things that I've heard, right?
Right.
And people get triggered over things, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I hear him talking about, and I'm sure there's some historical value to the movie, but I miss the times when I could just go see a movie and that's all it was.
And just enjoy it for what it is and go home.
Like I miss the times where I could just go to the movies, watch my movie, and be done. And I know it's gonna be that person that comes out and says, "Oh, well, you got to understand the history and all this kind of stuff." And yeah, I see you, but I just want to go see a movie. Like I just
Can we
want
just
to
be entertained and be entertained?
like I just want this little bit of entertainment because
yeah,
I got to go work overnight tomorrow, right?
Sometimes I don't want to
They
think.
turn the AC off,
Right.
so
I just need to enjoy myself and this $90 movie experience because that's
I want you
what it costs.
I want you to look over here, right down here. That guy.
Just know that he been quiet the whole.
Hey, you see the
researching.
steam? You see the
I see
steam
the
coming out his ears?
I noticed he probably
I
was
can see the
researching some
smoke coming
stuff.
down.
No, he researching. Hey, what's gonna happen is this, right? Because he sees the time clock and it's at 56 minutes right now. Hey, we got an hour. So you got 3 minutes to get your point off, and then we close it out the show.
Say less. You know who that guy looks like, right? That guy looks like Jason Whitlock.
That's him. That's him.
A very controversial figure.
Yes.
Right? So he's not the most nice person when it comes to black people. Right? But here's the thing. Jason Whitlock has an agenda. Right? At the end of the day, he's going ahead and pointing out the contributions that, and this is almost like, the soft racist that doesn't want, that they have this conversation with you like, but black people sold themselves, right? I've heard this all too many times. It's just, it's effortless to go ahead and divert this because the one thing that they don't want to speak of, because they want to speak of the things that other people don't want to speak of, right? The one thing they don't want to speak of is black people were under the impression, or Africans were under the impression that this was going to be the slavery that they had in mind, which was somewhat to the level of indentured servitude, right? It's completely different. It's not the same. White people in the United States had something called chattel slavery, right? And that was completely different. So the white people tricked the African people into thinking it was the same slavery. They didn't know they were selling their people into that. They had no clue that they were selling their people into that. And that's the thing that people fail to talk about when they want to hit the counter argument, right? It's not even a question about it. It's just history will serve you right and let you know exactly what it is, right? Irish people did that. Nobody had a problem with that. They had indentured servitude. Well, why was it a problem when the black people did it? Right? They sold themselves into slavery. It's only to go ahead and whitewash the truth about the situation, which was their accountability in the situation, right? They sold them and they put them into there, but who did what they did to them?
Mm.
Who went ahead and made that happen? They didn't tell you to beat them. They didn't tell you to sell them off. They didn't tell you to do buck breaking. They didn't tell you to do gator bait and use slave babies as alligator bait. They didn't tell you to do all that. But they're quick to, the funny part about it that people don't realize is, you don't understand. Everybody catches amnesia when it comes time for ability. Think about that. How'd that happen? Take yourself off mute, big man. You talking over there and
You froze for just a second. You got to back up.
where do I have to back up?
You
Where?
said people fail to realize, and then you froze.
People fail to realize that everybody catches amnesia when it comes to their own accountability, but they have the memory sharp as a tack when it comes to somebody else's accountability. How does that happen? But they did this, but they did that. They didn't kill people. They didn't chop them up. They didn't go ahead and inbreed people to go ahead and make the biggest and the baddest of slaves. They didn't do that. They didn't go ahead and do buck breaking so you could break down the mentality of the person. They didn't use babies as gator bait to go ahead and attract alligators. They used slave babies as gator bait. They had postcards that they put these things on. Like it was regular, right? So it's mad disrespectful when anybody says that, especially somebody that's of the same complexions as myself. What we're choosing to do, right? What we call that is you cooning and buffooning. Jason Whitlock is a coon and a buffoon. I don't respect nothing he has to say because he creatively forgets the context that would explain exactly why things happen. I'm not stupid. Everybody get yourself educated so you don't fall prey to a guy like Jason Whitlock. And I'm gonna leave it at that. We